What's going on with Gary Smith? In case you missed it, and I bet you haven't, the retired Army sergeant is now accused of being a felon. Albuquerque police have charged him with criminal damage to property, and you know why that is. They say he slashed the tires of his one-time opponent, Janice Arnold Jones, in her driveway, I might add, on multiple occasions, and has been arrested again after police say he violated the terms of his original bond and drove past the Jones residence again on New Year's Day. That reached somewhat of an infamous thing, guys, because John Jones posted about it nearly in real time on his Facebook page and just took this thing to a whole nother level. Now, that earned an aggravated stalking charge. There is such a thing. And now more investigations for tire slashing are underway. And, you know, John, the police have ordered a psychological evaluation, and I can't help but think about how many times we have sat around this table talk about mental health issues, talking about different issues, and thought, and it always comes up, why can't we get people evaluated early once they're showing certain kinds of behavior? Well, there are laws that prevent certain things from happening, but we've got a clear case here where this is warranted. Would you agree with that? Is this something, if you were in the Joneses' shoes, would this be a logical next step for you?
Oh, definitely. I mean, first of all, I think it's a horrible position for Janice Arnold Jones to be in. I mean, it's scary. There's a real stalker. I mean, there's a tendency to want to look at it as a humorous situation because it's so bizarre.
Sure.
And I think all of us have suffered from that a little bit. But at the end of the day, it's could be deadly serious. We got to remember that. And so this is a very serious thing. I think it is most likely. I mean, it's just not rational behavior. So my guess is that although I wouldn't be surprised if he's convicted of some sort of a crime as well. Sure. But that won't be the fix. The fix here will be getting him some serious evaluation of what would drive you to slash somebody's tires.
I'm glad you brought that up again, because again, we don't know what the situation is with him. Yeah. We don't know if there's mental illness involved. We don't know anything, so that evaluation is going to be key. You know, and Jamie, it's interesting. I first got alerted to this through Facebook, and you were part of that, and your Facebook page and some other things. I almost didn't want to believe it at first, and then I saw the video, and I think that caught most people right there was the video, wasn't it?
Yeah, I saw that Santa Fe Reporter article, pulled up that YouTube video, and I called Janice, and I said, "Are you okay? What's going on?" And I could sense she was very afraid.
Yes.
And that was on Friday. Now, when it happened again on New Year's Day, and after the guy had already been arrested, I haven't talked to her, but I can only imagine them being terrified, and perhaps now relieved that he's actually behind bars as of today, and hopefully staying there long enough to be evaluated. But I think she said it well. This is a cry for help at some level. I think that anybody that does this kind of thing, you know, and repeatedly.
Right.
I mean, there's one person here who says he's replaced 50 tires.
Right.
I mean, that's remarkable. Can you imagine that? And this is a person that doesn't have, you know, is not made of money here. He lives in an apartment, probably doesn't have the ability to actually park in a place where you can actually put.
This is the man who was.
This is the campaign manager, his former campaign manager, right? That's remarkable and just sad.
And you would think, Rob, you know, 40, 50 tires down the road.
Right.
That's one thing. You know, the Joneses situation, that's another thing too. They're equally frightening in a lot of ways. But the video thing, I think what was so powerful to me was you could almost put yourself in the living room of the Jones household. Sure. Looking out that window, seeing something like that happen, and it just chilled me when I watched that darn thing.
Yeah.
And so to get to John's point, it allows a huge emotional response. And at some point, we have to settle down and really see this a little more clear-eyed. And that means for all situations like this, it seems to me.
Yeah, the whole thing is just so bizarre because when you first, you know, and this thing has been picked up by a couple of national outlets. I'm sure when you first see the headline, you know, politician slashes opponent's tires, you're thinking, okay, 25-year-old guy, you know, who's being, you know, irrational or rash. And then this is a 65-year-old man. And then for him to come back and admit to coming back and driving very slowly past the Jones household, it goes, I think John put it very well, it goes from the realm of being, you know, slightly funny and weird to something that's very, very scary. And I really commend the Jones family for showing remarkable restraint. I mean, if this was my house, and they've got, I believe, like an 18-year-old daughter, I'd be on the warpath.
Right, absolutely. You know, it's interesting thinking about this, Laura, we all know politicians here, clearly, not to be flip about this, but a lot of things happen that's outside of the public purview that comes their way. There's just stuff. People get angry, people say things, people show up at your door. We all know stories about this happens to elected officials. It's just one of those things that comes with the game. But the appropriate response is always the problem, right? It's always a difficult issue. I'm annoyed that no one got on this after tire number 22 or 41, or whatever the case may be. It would seem to me that law enforcement had everything they needed here to step in at some point. Would you agree with that, or do you have to let these things play out a little bit?
Well, I mean, I think I commend the Jones family also for having, taken the initiative to put up video cameras to actually figure out who was doing this. Because I don't think it's that simple to just jump from someone you suspect is doing it to actually someone, because it's so out there. And as somebody who, you're talking about politicians having people, show up and do bizarre things to them. Candidates also, just being a candidate, having been a candidate for half a second in this last, there's a disappointment level that goes along with it when you don't make it past a certain point. And you have to figure out how to deal with that and how to, get back to normal. And I think there was a point before all this started happening where clearly that did not happen appropriately for Mr. Smith. And I think, people around him need to recognize, and I think in other situations also, you have to recognize where we have to intervene and prevent this kind of behavior from happening. Clearly there was a snap moment.
Right.
And I think there's, to go back and try to identify it now is pointless, but I think it's a lesson for us moving forward. If someone's showing instability and they're not getting the kind of help or the kind of, even just being a friend and listening to them to prevent this kind of thing, I think we all need to be more aware of what's happening with folks. There is a tremendous amount of disappointment, but clearly he has flipped into some other place than just normal, dealing with the loss and, your expectations.
I appreciate you bringing that up because you made me think about something that, and again, we've all seen this. When a candidate loses a race, John, everybody disappears, right? Everyone's gone the next day. You are on your own. Depending if you're a high-profile kid, it's not quite that way. But if you're new into politics and a new challenger, it was like, good luck, kid, and you're left to deal with the emotional upbringing of the devices of that. Does that make sense to you? And
it completely makes sense to me. I think it's kind of a brotherhood, sisterhood of people who've actually been a candidate. It is one of the toughest things that you can do professionally, I think, is to subject yourself to being rejected by thousands or hundreds of thousands of people. It is a very difficult thing. And so that's why I actually think our civic discourse, and this is something that is a very bipartisan issue, things like you're making a call to your opponents when they've lost an election, and trying to be friends with the people you're running against, even though that can be very tough because this is a real democracy. We make really important decisions, and so campaigns are tough, and you're saying tough things about people. But at the end of the day, I think we have moved in our society away from that collegiality. No, which is not to say there've been, we have to remember there was violence on the floor of the Congress before the Civil War. People being beaten down.
That's right.
And so there were guns carried into the Capitol, and literally drawn in duels and things like that. And so we've made progress, but I think that we can return to an even more civil tradition of making those calls, being friends with our opponents, and that's part of this.
Good for you. I appreciate that for sure. Jamie, there's no way to do this. I'm going to ask you this question. There's really no way to do this. But is there a possibility to vet candidates somehow before folks get into something and then we get this kind of a situation? It's a democracy.
Right.
If you want to run, we shouldn't stop you because you're of style points or something. But however, there's a however here, isn't there?
Well, at all levels here, you look at this man. I met him on a couple of occasions at various events where candidates circulate during the period. And, he didn't strike me to be kind of the guy that was congressional candidate material, but somebody that clearly had a background in public service. He was an Army enlisted person, served, wanted to serve his country again. That's great. But then when political consultants all surround you and say, okay, maybe I can make some money off this deal. We looked at the FEC website here, about $80,000 of his money went to consultants. He loaned himself $250,000. That's a tremendous amount for someone of his
And to have
means.
and to have a negative result.
And have a negative result.
You know, that would
and for
be the
Congress,
snap thing, right?
And wasn't even
Yeah.
a stepping stone. Congress is a big deal, especially in New Mexico.
Right.
You know, so maybe a stepping stone would have been to run for, you know, city council or something like that, right? And then get your name out there and serve the public, and then move forward. But you know, at some point, people around him should have looked at this a little deeper.
Yeah,
maybe
good
not
point
taking his
there.
money.
We're back in a moment with education and innovation as TEDxABQ digs into lifelong learning.